UAPs, unidentified anomalous phenomena. Are they extraterrestrial, interdimensional, time travelers in origin, or are they simply a result of top-secret military black projects, false flag alien invasion psyop, drones, or other human-made aircraft? Join UFO historian Don Ecker, MUFON State Director for New York Chris Deperno, retired veteran pilot Commander Cobra, and well-esteemed host and researcher Martin Willis as they discuss the latest news and topics regarding UAPs with a no-holds-barred approach on UAP Crossfire.
Supposed to be doing the latest news? I didn't know that. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the show. Tonight, we have an extra special guest, Marc D'Antonio. In just a couple of minutes, we're going to be bringing in another special guest to talk about contact in the desert. But let's all say hi first, and we'll start with Chris. How you doing, Chris?
Glad to be here, Martin. This should be a great show. You know, I've never met Captain Ron. I've heard a lot of great, interesting things about him. So I'm kind of excited about hearing what he's got to say about contact in the desert.
That's right. Okay. And how about you, Mr. Ecker? You feeling better? You weren't a little bit under the weather last week. You're doing okay now, right?
Well, physically last week, I was fine.
Uh-oh.
Mentally, I was not fine.
Here we go.
And it's kind of like a brown bear with a sore breast. Okay. I didn't want to submit myself to you guys. So I told Bill, I said, I'm taking the night off for mental health reasons. But other than that, Martin, I'm great.
Hey, we all have, life's a roller coaster. I get it. I totally do get that, actually. Marc D'Antonio, welcome back.
Hey, how are you? And a brown bear with a sore breast.
Don't try to find
that
one.
Even mean? Yeah. That's like an ant with a splinter in his toe. What? I don't get that.
Or how about an alligator?
Alligator.
I'm going to have to show this.
I think
this was in the backyard last night. I filmed this.
You have
right
frogs
out
and
of
alligators in your bag.
Right there. Here we go.
Martin, what happened to the last owner of the place?
Missing. Yeah.
You got the place cheap, did you?
Yeah. That's my emotional support animal, by the way. So anyway,
But TSA doesn't let you fly him. Well, actually, he is luggage, so.
Yeah, they do make great suitcases. Yeah. Oh no, we're really going.
But
going south here. But I think it's time we bring in Ron, a special guest, Ron, and we're going to be talking about contact in the desert. But let's bring up the commercial to that first, and then I'll bring him in. Wow. Welcome, Ron.
Well, I don't do a lot of nature shows, guys, so this is an interesting thing. We were talking about brown bears.
Yeah,
that was an odd choice there. Brown bear with a sore breast.
In other words, a bear with a sore tit. That was my mental state last week.
Oh, I don't know if you can say that word on the radio.
Setting it up for us, Don. We appreciate that.
Yeah, I still can't reach that, though, Don. I'm not sure where that's going.
Well, Mark,
is that much better?
It's hard keeping up, isn't it, Mark?
Yeah.
It's hard.
It is. Give me a break.
Well, I think that's one of the 7 words you can't say on TV. And what did George Carlin say? And it sounds like a snack.
Let's not even go through that list.
All right.
Yeah, I do know the whole list. I've watched him religiously, but
that's right.
I think this is great. And I gotta say, I am privileged that Ron's here too, because he's having me back at Contact. I can't wait. It's gonna be really exciting. I'll be doing 3 talks there too, right, Ron? So I'm gonna have a good time.
And a bus tour that's off property. We're going to do that for the first time. We're going off site out into the desert.
for Skywatch.
In the dark.
Contact.
You doing that?
Yeah.
We set up a bus for Mark. It sold out immediately, so I put another one up. Sold out immediately. We sold out 2 buses immediately. So
this is fantastic. Well, Ben Hansen's going to run the Skywatch.
Ben's going to be on one bus, and you're on the other one. And then we go over, and then you guys are going to be
very cool.
Looking at the stars from the desert. There's no light pollution out there.
Yeah,
we found a really great spot to do this. We've already checked it out. It's really going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Ron, I'd like to ask you how you started Contact in the Desert.
I didn't start Contact in the Desert. I'm brand new to this, brother. That started 10 years ago by the previous ownership, and they did it actually out in Joshua Tree. It actually used to be out in the desert, and it was more like Burning Man. It was actually physically in the desert, 118 degrees, and you had to walk between each thing, and a lot of people liked it because it was so raw, and people camped there, and but the reality was it was just too hot and too difficult and dirty and everything. So then they moved it to this beautiful resort, the Renaissance Resort, right in Indian Wells, right in Coachella Valley there. It's beautiful. Vegas-style pool, air conditioning. It's fantastic. And Gordon and I just took over last year. We worked with the previous regime. And this will be our first event. And we're celebrating a 10-year anniversary of Contact this year. And that's why the lineup's so amazing.
Yeah,
73 is it? It says over 60.
73 different speakers talking this year, which is just ungodly.
That's baffling.
And you know what, Ron? I got to tell you that in Contact, this is the first conference where I'm speaking, where I'm actually going to be giving away astronomical equipment to the people that attend my lectures.
Yeah, how cool is that? You're going to give away some binoculars and
a telescope system. Yeah, we're going to give away telescopes and binoculars, Ron. So
a real beautiful giant telescope, not
Celestron telescope. Nothing, nothing crappy. And I got to say, Ron was actually instrumental in helping us do this because he helped us set up the logistics of all this. Because you got to imagine how many things probably are on his shoulders, right? He's got 1,000 things to worry about. And then some guy wants to give away equipment. Holy crap. Where are we going to get the raffle tickets to give people coming in the door kind of thing? But he did it, man. He and Bree, and I guess there's Victoria, not Victoria. Who is it that, who else is working with you?
Jamie?
Yeah, maybe. I can't remember the names of everybody involved.
Yeah, we're all working really hard.
You guys are going
They're doing
crazy,
a great
man.
job. And it's really, the good news is, it's a lot of work. It really is. We're feeling a little overwhelmed right now. But the good news is everybody we're talking to, it's kind of an exciting thing. It's building up to something. You can just feel it. And people are all like, oh my God, I saw this guy's going to be there. And I saw this panel. They're doing 14 panels this year. We've never done anywhere near 14 panels. And that's going to be really great.
Yeah.
Well, I'm afraid I can't make it this year, but I'm definitely planning on making it next year.
What's wrong with you?
Well,
drop everything for this, man.
Yeah, there's a commitment already. Sorry, but but it's a real. It sounds like there's live music there. There's all kinds of stuff going on.
We have a live band on 3 nights. We have a live DJ. Adam Apollo, one of our speakers, is going to DJ on Friday night. There's just a lot going on. We're going to play 4 different documentaries that are brand new, that are in our field, that have never been screened before. So we're going to get sneak peeks of 4 different documentaries. And E.T. is one of the Hollywood movies, and Dee Wallace, the mom from E.T., is going to be there. She's going to
Ron, do you have a website where all the speakers are listed?
Absolutely. Contactinthedesert.com.
I'll bring that up in a minute here.
Yeah, go ahead. The first link after about is speakers. So you can just pop on there and you can see all of them.
And one of the things I have mentioned before, and I'm sure everyone that's been to conferences will agree with me, is that the hallways of these places, that going to dinner and talking to all these people, that's where so much of the fun is, just hanging out with people and meeting new people that have the same interests. It's such an awesome
absolutely. What's unique about Contact, unlike many of the other conferences, is that we take over the entire hotel. So we literally rent the entire thing. So you have to, everybody that's there is part of our conference. So you can talk to anybody in line for food or drink or anything. They'll all be part of this event. George Knapp's going to be there. We're really excited about that. He's sort of new to that.
Dave Foley and Tom, those two guys are awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. That their podcast is huge.
And Paul Hynek, another wonderful guy to have.
Yeah, you know, we're going to do. There he is, Mr. Marc D'Antonio, man.
D something, yeah. And Michael Schratt, he puts on a really good.
Yeah, he's very thorough.
Graphic.
I like what he does.
And then Tracy, great remote viewing. I know that, and what a lineup, and it just keeps going here. Wow. So for those of you who are listening to the audio of this, just check out contactinthedesert.com and click on the speakers list and go through, and Katie Page, awesome. So great lineup, really wonderful lineup.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. We got a lot of other ancillary things going on, like the movies and the bus trip, and we have a banquet, and we're going to do a contact in the desserts party Saturday night. We're going to.
Is that a contact sport with the dessert?
Well, we were just talking about throwing. Tried it out, throw cakes around, but we're going to have lots of fun stuff there. Friday night is the meet and greet party. So that's like you're saying, that's the fun of this, of being there live, because you can interact with the speakers, and having the speakers interact with each other is always good too. Kind of see what they're working on and where they differ. For the first time ever, we're going to actually have offer live streaming. Just for the 14 panels, so you can participate. They're going to be like some behind the scenes stuff and online chats and a lot of different things that we've never offered before. So that's cool. And we're also offering 1-day passes. So if people are, afraid of dipping their toe into this, try it for a day.
Good idea.
There's so much to see there.
Thought. Yeah,
I was overwhelmed when I went. My first time I think was last year, Ron. I've never.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
There's 7 or 8 stages going at the same time all day.
I know. You got to pick a track, and it's like crazy. It's wonderful. Yeah. So
the only problem is to decide what to do next, and which choice to make. Do I want to see this guy or that guy, or this panel or that?
Yeah. I'm scheduled to do a lecture. I'm scheduled to do a live stream with SkyTour LiveStream. We're going to actually open the Arizona Observatory remotely and do an evening program for people.
How cool is that?
Night sky.
That is great.
We're going to use the Arizona Observatory in Indian Wells. I did that last year at Contact, and people really enjoyed it. We had like 250 people outside in chairs. This time it's going to be indoors, and it'll be a nice controlled environment. So it's going to be a little more better for people, because the wind was affecting the screen and everything.
Right. Yeah. So we're going to clean that up this year, and we had a lot of good response from that, Mark, and that's why we wanted to bring it back. And
I think that's very cool.
That was one of the things that people actually put on the exit things we send out to hear what people thought of the show. And one of the highlights was that. I mean, what a great opportunity that is. Here you have Marc D'Antonio talking about the stuff, already amazing, and then he's controlling his own thing that's in Arizona, his own telescope. And it's a lot of really good information, and a lot of people got a lot out of that. So
I'm glad, Ron. I didn't even know that. I wish I knew about that. That's very cool.
Bree was the only one actually heckling, I think, and I'll talk to her about that this year to pull back on the heckling, because we do want to have you back again.
Well, I think
we've got to keep him level-headed, so the heckling's okay.
You know what though?
A little bit.
If I had an ego, then it'd be a problem, right? I don't have an ego, so whatever.
Right.
We know the guys with the ego, No, Don.
We can attest.
That was his ring finger.
Yeah, right.
I was just with you, Mark, out in at the Ozark out there, and everybody just comes up to talk to you, and I love the fact that you're approachable, and that just makes things. And I bet most of the speakers that you have there, a lot of them are approachable. Not all of them, but most of them are.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you really, it's remarkable. That's what first drew me as an attendee years ago to Contact. I didn't realize you could just walk up to these guys. They're just walking around.
Yeah.
It's incredible. They most of them have an interest in this topic as well. And they want to get off the stage so they can go over and see Danny Sheehan and see what's going on in Congress and see Richard Dolan's latest stuff and see, they're interested too. And a lot of them do go to other speakers, which is kind of fun.
Avi Loeb.
Ron, have you ever had a
is
sighting?
impressive.
Have you ever
I'm
had
really-
an
Really
encounter or
looking
sighting?
for that.
We have talk over
I've
here.
never personally had a sighting. I had one UFO sighting a few years ago. I was actually with Dr. Stephen Greer of all people, and I did have a sighting. That's the only one I've ever had. Most people get into this topic because of that. Don, I think you were going to ask something about Avi Loeb.
No, I said I was very impressed that I saw he was one of the speakers.
Yeah, he's the only one that's not able to attend, but he is going to. We're still going to have him there. He's going to just be via satellite with a Zoom call. He's the only one that can't make it in person. We were hoping he would, but he couldn't. So we're going to just go ahead and do it.
I just recently did a paper that I referenced Avi Loeb quite heavily in it. So yeah, I'm very impressed with his
he sits right where I do, which is, to me, when I look at all this material, the more I delve into it, is I find that my take is that there's absolutely enough here that warrants further scientific investigation.
I don't think anyone can argue that.
What's that?
I don't think anyone can argue that.
Well, yeah, and we need more people like Avi Loeb. He brings the credibility of his position at Harvard with him. I think that gets more attention. He's got the Galileo Project now, working on furthering this, raising money to put science at this. That's what's been missing in this field.
Agreed.
Because, maybe none of it's what we all think it is. Fine, let's find out. Let's dig into it. So I think that's really, really important.
Now, see, Avi, I've worked with Avi a couple of times on shows and stuff, and his I addressed his Galileo team because our remote observatories are kind of right up their alley because they're going to have telescopes deployed around the world, and they're going to need remote access. So I offered my services to help promote them. I don't know if they'll take it up, but maybe they will. I mean, Ezra, one of his guys on the team, and I talked about it a lot, and so I have a feeling that there'll be some type of involvement down the line. But I know that, Avi's one of those guys that literally says it like it is.
Yeah.
If you remember the whole controversy with Avi Loeb was Oumuamua. Okay. Right. Messenger from the stars. Okay. Oumuamua shows up, and we didn't see it till it was already leaving. It went around the sun, was already leaving. But the way it was leaving was in a way that was not quite how a ballistic trajectory, would work. You get this parabolic orbit coming around. You would expect it to, or hyperbolic orbit. You would expect that the thing would follow a certain path on the way out. You should be able to calculate that. And it did something very different. This implied that maybe, and this is his only sin in the science community, if you will, maybe this object was powered in some way. He didn't say it was. He said we can't deny the possibility that this is a powered extraterrestrial object, perhaps a solar sail. And the other thing that people thought was it was long and thin spindle. That's not at all what it was. No. It was actually a flat pancake.
I know. Here's the images. I'm just putting up the images that everybody was assuming, but it was more like, and Avi says it himself, it's more the way it reacted to the sun. It had to be something very thin and supposedly flat. They don't really know for sure anyway.
Right.
Yeah, it was flat, and we've seen other things like that in our Kuiper belt, way out past Pluto, right? All the icy bodies out there. We've seen those. In fact, Ultima Thule, which is where the New Horizons probe went after going zipping past Pluto. All right, it met up with Ultima Thule, and it was two pancakes that had glued themselves together. Because when they hit, right, they have a lot of ice, right? So when they hit, the first thing that happens is there's a little friction generated that melts and refreezes almost immediately. So now they're cemented together basically, and there's nothing to break them apart. So now these things are orbiting on their own out past out in the Kuiper belt. Pretty cool stuff. So Avi just said all his sin was to say, we can't ignore the possibility. He didn't say this is alien. He said we can't ignore the possibility, right? And that he came.
But that's the world today. They jump on those things.
Right, Ron. They actually what they did was, and they jumped down his throat. They call him this nutcase and all that stuff, but it was the academic community doing it to him. It wasn't.
Right, yeah.
It wasn't you, me, and the other people that believe in this stuff, right? It was the academic community doing it. Why? Well, it's because, in my view, and I could be wrong, they're not ready to accept the possibility that extraterrestrial life has found us. And I've been lecturing all over the freaking world about the fact that oxygen in our atmosphere has been going out there for 2.5 billion years, right? So that's effectively 2 billion light years of range that the Earth has reached with its signal that there's life here, oxygen in the atmosphere that's not depleting. And that's very, very important. That's the thing we're looking for. So why wouldn't another carbon-based life form like us not do the same, right? So it just makes logical sense to me. It just makes logical sense.
I love that. Now, just a little side thing. I think Avi was also one of the hecklers last year at your talk.
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
We've
Mark, let me ask you a question about those telescopes. Another big component this year at Contact in the Desert is going to be artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
And, I've been thinking that lately, won't we be using telescopes where they can look at objects and analyze them through artificial intelligence to determine what they could be, that would recognize this is a planetary body. This is an airplane. Maybe this is a craft that could be being controlled, like you said.
Actually, Ron, that's a very prescient comment because that's already being done. There's rudimentary systems out there that do use AI to help separate objects from data artifacts and things like that. So we do have that now. But as far as being able to say this is a planet and it has oxygen in the atmosphere, we've analyzed the signature. We've recognized it as O2 diatomic oxygen, which carbon-based life needs. And by the way, there's dimethyl sulfide in this atmosphere too, which is where plankton farts come from. And it's the smell of the sea that you smell in the low tide. Okay. So those are all indicators of life, and only life makes those things. So it's a very strong possibility that the AI is going to be refined in the future to do that, Ron. I have no doubt. In fact, us astronomers may just have nothing to do in the future. Okay, push a button, or I'm going to go eat some pizza.
Right.
You come back. Oh, hey, I found the planet. How about that? Yeah. Oh, they're heading this way with attack ships. So, yeah.
I'm just going to say, Andy Cobra, hello. He's watching us right now and saying we all look great, sound great, and he couldn't make the show tonight. But he's on the road down in Florida, I think he just said. But here's Mark putting on the glasses.
I have your glasses.
Yeah, there he is.
These are the glasses you sent me.
I actually saw the Kuiper belt because Paul Hynek brought to a conference one time he said he took out a belt and he says, "This is Gerard Kuiper's belt." He says that he gave to his father, J. Allen Hynek. So I thought that was pretty funny. So that was I saw the Kuiper belt.
One of these, Martin. I'm going to pack you up on one of these and send you the hell away.
Nice. Paul Hynek's going to do something for us, kind of a tribute to his dad as well. We're going to do something else we've never done before, which is we're going to have a legends panel, and we're going to put some of the legends in this community that have really influenced a lot of the growth and development in the community, like Whitley Strieber and Richard Dolan, George Norrie, and that's going to be hosted by Paul Hynek.
Nice.
His father was obviously a huge part of this too. So a lot of exciting things like that as well.
And I don't think we've said, you haven't said the date when this is. So why don't you just throw that up?
5:30 through June 3rd. So it's Thursday through Monday. It's a true 5-day event, and it's packed.
And get there early.
Get there early.
I think it's the biggest conference on the planet, to be honest. I don't think there's anything larger.
Related to this topic, it seems to be. I mean, it's we try to take it serious too, and I think we've got a really great approach to it. We have a good balance to take a rational look at these things with the right light, setting the right tone for this, and it's also good for people that are well versed in this community. You can talk to the top experts and get the latest information, but it's also a nice place to dip your toe into the water if you're just curious about this or new to this topic. We're doing something else new this year where we're adding, we're calling them 101s. We have a real funny graphic for it. We're going to do lectures on Thursday that introduce people to topics. Like Steve Bassett's going to do a 101 lecture on the history of disclosure. What happened with disclosure? How has that changed in government from 1947 till today? You know, Paul Hynek's going to do one on the history of UFOs and ufology over the last 75 years. And we also have Alan Peake, Dr. Peake's going to do one on different physics principles and kind of introduce these people to things. And Matthew James Bailey is the fourth one. I couldn't think of that. And he's going to do it on artificial intelligence to give people sort of an introduction to that, because a lot of people don't really grasp what that is and the problems with AI and the, you know, what it actually is. You know, people are scared by it for the wrong reasons and they don't understand it for the wrong reasons. So he's going to clear that up, and Anthony Peake's going to clear up a lot of the physics misnomers and give people a 101 kind of a introductory, rudimentary look at these things, and then get you ready for the weekend.
That's cool. And next time I'd be happy to do one on astronomy or one on photo and video analysis.
I think both of those would be good. Mark, we could use you pretty much every day, all day. I'll tell you, there's a lot of things we can ask you about, man.
Well, don't hesitate, man. We can talk.
All right.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Ron. Go ahead.
In the chat, wait a minute. In the chat, people were asking about the price. Maybe you might want to tell them what the price, because I think for what you're asking is a pretty low price.
Well, yeah, that's the idea. I mean, this is truly a mission-driven thing. We try to keep it as low as possible. It goes up all along. I don't know what it is now. Let's see what it is today. It's $349 for the 5-day pass. So you can go for all 5 days and go to everything for $349.
I think Don just fainted. What happened to Don? He's not coming.
I'm here.
He just went to contactinthedesert.com to get his pass.
That's right.
At the $349 price.
To be you guys.
And that gets you
a pretty good price, Ron, for 5 days.
It's for 5 days.
That is a great price for 5 days. Yeah.
Every single one of those 73 people, you get to see them for free. There's an opportunity to see every lecture for free. All the lectures are free. All the panels are free. We do have a couple of paid events. Like if you want to see somebody that you really like Marc D'Antonio, for example, you can go to his workshop. And there's a fee for that. And you can go to that. Or on Monday, there's intensives where you could spend 2 hours and 35 minutes with some of the speakers and really get an in-depth look at their material. And a lot of them do AMAs as well. You can ask them anything. What a great opportunity that is.
Right. Hey, John, I just thought I'd let you know someone's actually complimenting you here. See it on the screen? We have a legend on the show, Silverback of Ufology, Don Ecker. Look at that. I just
Silverback. More animal references. I'll tell you what. You guys should
know. Bear with sore breasts.
Marlin Perkins.
Gorilla.
Yeah. Okay. Well, hey,
Don handles the alligator. Martin will sit in a helicopter and watch from a safe distance.
Jim. Hey, Captain Ron, thanks so much.
Absolutely, brother. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate it. A lot of fun.
Good to see you.
Yeah. Have a great time. I hope it goes really well for you.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
See you soon.
Hey, Mark, before we get into your sky tours and all that, I'd like to ask you, because we were just leaving off on AI, and I've mentioned this on my show before, but correct me if I'm wrong, that from now on, we're going to have to be real leery of any images or videos when it has to do with about anything but UFOs as well.
You know, I was on Coast to Coast with Nori the other night, and we talked about that, and I did Spaced Out Radio, and with Dave, we talked about that. It's really a very, very important topic. Let me just say right up front. When you have a photograph come in, right, the photograph is of a scene, and in that scene, you have a black lengthwise little thing. It's a little fuzzy, but it's lengthwise, right? That's as much detail as you can get from it. You're not going to be able to sharpen it up and suddenly see detail that's not there. So you're only going to get as much detail as the original photo has within it. You're not going to be able to add detail that's not there. And unfortunately, that's what I see when many of these AI renderings of things, they create this They see this blurry, elongated thing, which is probably a bird in time lapse where it's blurring a little bit as it's flying through. But what do? They put it through an AI program, which fixes the image and shows you what's really there. What it's doing is it's adding data to the image and creating something from nothing. So it's adding data that's not there. So it's funny because I've seen these come and I just pounce on them on social media because this oval fuzzy thing becomes this oval craft with wings and with rivets and with control surfaces and all kinds of. And look, there's a porthole. And I mean, seriously, and people buy it. It's no, this is not what that is. This is probably a bird. This is artificial intelligence manufacturing the image that it thinks, it want to see. You seed it with whatever you want. I want to see if there's a UFO in this picture. Oh, I'll find you a UFO, all right. And that's kind of what its approach is. And it makes a UFO where none exists.
And we're just at the bottom floor of AI. We're going to see it's just going to progress more and more and more, and things are going to be more and more unbelievable. I think it's scary. Ron said maybe we're scared for the wrong reasons, but one of the reasons, that scares me is, they could have a leader. They do these deep fakes now that are just so authentic looking.
Yeah.
And, so hard to say that Putin would say he was going to launch, or whatever, there's just, that part is scary to me.
Yeah. And
I think I just say, Martin, piggybacking on what you were saying, I'm more worried about the people who are going to be using AI than AI itself. Because AI can be a great tool in some respects for medical reasons and, surgery and things of that nature. But if you put AI in the wrong hands, then I think that could be very frightening.
I agree with Chris 1,000%.
Yeah, and how are you going to stop that from happening?
The danger is the military is looking very, very closely and deeply at AI. And the thing that terrifies me is if they get to such a point where they will allow the AI to make decisions
autonomously
that should only be handled by human beings.
Yeah, and that refers to a process that Micah Hanks talks about, and that's the technological singularity. We get to the point where we can make only so many decisions, and to do the rest, we need AI to take over for us. That's the beginning of Skynet, right? Terminator, I'll be back, right? Well, figure this now. Yeah. Think about this. Okay, when you talk about Skynet, you laugh, it's science fiction. Well, let me just give you a little idea about the quality of the satellites we have in orbit, the spy satellites. First of all, I got contracted to build models. The models had all kinds of classified material on it. I couldn't show that, but I did make a notional model of a satellite that actually showed the basics, okay, that they could use for public consumptions. And this particular satellite had, as I said, tons of classified stuff on it. And so I just assumed it was a spy satellite. In fact, I knew it was a spy satellite. All right. So I was doing these models for a bunch of very high-end people with, scrambled eggs on their shoulders and hats and stuff. And so I figured that that's what this is. I didn't even think about it. And then at the conclusion of the project, I got a call from the CEO of the company, and he said, "Hey, Mark, it's Steve." And I said, "Yeah, hi, Steve. How are you?" He goes, "Would you like to see who you're working for?" "Yeah." And he says, "Don't pass this picture on." All right, which I never did. It's a picture of Sergey Brin and Larry Page, the Google guys. It was a Google Earth satellite.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. And I saw what it could see. It could read a license plate from orbit at an oblique angle. Okay. It could make a rough identification of you, Martin, standing in a mall, outdoor mall. Exactly. Okay. Wear hats. No. All right. So the point is, what that told me was,
what the hell do they need that for?
I'm about to tell you. That's exactly good. Great question. What that told me was that they were in bed with the DOD and they were getting their Google Earth satellite, getting paid to make it, and they were making it so that it could do even more than they intended themselves. So they got the money and the budget through the Black Projects to make this thing a absolutely incredible satellite. And you know what? It is. Now, at the time, I had a very high clearance. I was down in the satellite ops building for this office, and even with a high clearance, I couldn't see this particular pass that they were doing. So I went into satellite ops, and there's another room surrounded by glass inside, and there were operators in there with screens. And I'm in the outer ring watching, and we got an announcement, classified pass, 15 seconds. Okay, classified pass, 15 seconds. I'm saying, oh, okay, cool. Meanwhile, over the next 5 seconds, the windows started to dim, and they went black. And I was standing with the guy from the company, and he said, yeah, it's a classified pass. Oh, okay. And in that field, obviously, you don't say, I want to see. Obviously, unless you're read in, you don't see anything, and you'll live with it. So anyway, that lasted about 40 seconds, 45 seconds, and then the window started, okay, and they came back, and the announcement came through that the pass was concluded. And so that was what they did all day long. So it's a room within a room, okay, isolated. So the people in the room probably had extremely higher clearances than I had, of course. And were read into the program so they could see it. I think that is really something. And to find out that was actually the Google Earth satellite just blew me away.
And how many years ago was that?
That was 2008.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, Mark, basically what you're saying is that satellite might have facial recognition on it, right?
Well, the satellite doesn't have facial recognition, but the satellite has the capability to show you faces so you can do recognition.
Right. But if you're using AI for face, because they're using AI for facial recognition and stuff of that nature, so I'm just thinking the DoD would have one hell of a weapon to be able to have the ability to facial recognition of terrorists and launch a missile from a drone right onto them like that.
That is certainly, and I don't have any direct knowledge of this, of course, but that is certainly the plan.
Well, don't think for 1 second that AI is not being utilized right this moment.
You're right.
With all of these college campus insurrections.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
Now, how is that, Don? I'm curious to hear why that would be.
Well, okay. Not that I want to take a dump on anybody, but what's this all about? It's about Palestinian sovereignty, Palestinian from the river to the sea. All these kids basically have aligned themselves with a terrorist organization, Hamas.
Yeah.
Okay, Hamas. They're supporting Hamas. They're supporting all of this business. And don't you think that the American intelligence agencies would like to have an idea of who these people are? Not to mention that many, many, many people that have entered the campus are not students. They are outside, let's, for the want of a better term, call them agitators. And they're going to want to know who that is. And if not the feds, the state and the local municipal authorities are going to want to know what they're dealing with. So that's why.
All right, let's keep it more toward UFOs if we can. And I know that's a hot topic. It's a hot. I know you were.
My fault.
But anyway, Mark.
The cop asked the question of the other cop.
Mark, do you understand what this is up on the screen here? Can you talk about? He just
sent in. I do not, and I'm sorry. I know that Wildcat asked me about that.
All right.
And
we'll ask Wildcat to elaborate.
Yeah, elaborate on that. That would be great.
Yeah. And so, Mark, let's talk about your sky tours that you do.
What for?
And
I thought we were talking about UFOs.
Well, some astronomers see UFOs. So we're going to be talking about that later.
I saw that document you sent, and that's actually really interesting. First of all, the SkyTour thing, that started, 5 years ago now? And it's actually, we started with one observatory, and we are now moving up to a second observatory. We've got the funding. We actually purchased the equipment, and we're going to be we broke ground in Benson, Arizona for this second site. Yeah, we're going to be putting a telescope down there. It's going to have a number of other instruments in it that's going to allow us to see different things than the other one, but similar things at the same time. For the first time in history, we're going to be able to take 3D images of the moon, because we're like 150 to 175 miles away, 150 miles away maybe, from the current observatory, and that's enough to actually show the moon from a different vantage point at that same instant in time. And so from that particular point, you're going to see a little bit different part, a little bit more of the moon from one side versus the other, and it's going to allow us to actually see the moon in 3D. If you use like 3D glasses or you use the cross-eye technique, we'll teach people how to do that. First time in history. It's never been done. So I think that's pretty cool. We saw a meteor hit the moon at the height of the lunar eclipse.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, we saw that. And Isabella, our incredibly talented and amazing contributor from Bulgaria, she went through all of our data, and she and another, Robin Curtis, another person who's equally talented, they started correlating all of our data and making a whole database. So now, from 2021 to today, we have every single observation we've ever made, where it was in the sky, how long the exposure was, what it is, what are the pictures, raw photos, and the actual final images. And that's all now cataloged, and people can look it up. And we're putting that together now. We're building a front end so people can say, how many times did you, or show me the Orion Nebula, and it'll say, well, we've seen it 172 times since 2021. Would you like to see a summary of images and see all these images of it? So, I mean, that's taking it a step where it needs to go. And Isabella also went even further. Okay. She finished cataloging the data to 2024. And then what she did was, I'll tell you why this is all important. Then what she did was the important thing. Okay. She went back and took the images from all those past years of the same objects and then compared them to each other. And guess what she found? She found stars that are missing. She found asteroids, right? So we can do real scientific exploration and discovery with this database now. We've got enough data to do that. I'm so proud of her, and I'm proud of where SkyTour has come, because it's given us incredible opportunities now, And this is the kind of thing I've always wanted to do, Martin and guys. I've always wanted to be, doing this kind of thing as a professional astronomer. This is where it exists. Being in the front lines of discovery is really important to me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this object here is cool. We took a picture of that the other night.
What is that we're looking at? Is that a nebula?
It is. That's that little tiny blue dot in the middle. If you can pause that, you can.
Yeah,
won't
right.
go away. That little tiny blue dot in the middle, that's actually a white dwarf star. It's the remains of a star that had shed its outer atmosphere. That's exactly right. It shed its outer atmosphere, and then that white dwarf in the center is the basically the core of the star left over. Now, I know it looks big right there. Now, this thing is however many thousands of light years away, but it still shows that tiny white dwarf in the center, and it's very obviously bright, as you can see. Guess what? It's thousands of light years away, and that white dwarf is the size of the Earth. So that's an immensely bright object to show like that from that kind of distance.
Well,
yeah, and that outer stuff is that outer stuff. Again, it's just 2,600 light years away, which is almost the distance to the observatory from here in Connecticut. The observatory is 2,500 miles from here, and this thing is 2,600 light years from us. You know, so that outer stuff is the gas that was sloughed off of the star as it aged, and the green is oxygen, and the red is hydrogen. You know?
Now, does this have a name or is it a number?
No, this is called the Owl Nebula because kind of, if you turn your head to the left a little and look at it, kind of like that, kind of looks like an owl, doesn't it?
Pareidolia. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Oh,
Mark,
I see what you're saying.
For you.
Yeah.
So NASA's got a panel now, and in a report they're saying that there are 40 billion Earth-sized potentially habitable planets. This is what they say there's a possibility of that.
Yeah.
How do we, the scientists, go about trying to figure out if this is a planet that has everything that could have life on it? What are the elements or things they're looking for?
All right. First of all, let's take a step back to the universe as a whole and look at abundances of stuff. Okay. Obviously, we're used to Earth. We grew up here. We evolved here. And so we just think it's all the same, except here on our planet, we're made of carbon. Carbon is the essential element within all of us that makes us what we are. And in order for that life that for us to have, which is carbon-based, to exist, we need to have oxygen. So carbon and oxygen are the really most important elements in the periodic table for human life effectively, right? So carbon is the fourth most abundant element in the whole universe. Number 4, okay? Number 3 is oxygen, okay? That's the third most abundant. Then you have helium, and then you have hydrogen, okay? Hydrogen's the most abundant, then helium, oxygen, and carbon. So those top 4 elements throughout the whole universe are the most plentiful. So it stands to reason that if life can form out of carbon, like it has here, then it's probably going to have formed elsewhere. So the question is, how do we find carbon and oxygen in other atmospheres of other planets? And that's a very good question, Chris, because with the James Webb Space Telescope, now we can. Okay, because what happens is when oxygen molecules combine or collide in an atmosphere, they actually leave behind a signature that they did that. And that signature shows up in the infrared light where the James Webb sees perfectly. And that's the thing that we look for with the James Webb. We're looking for that collision between oxygen atoms. It's an indirect indicator, but it's a very good indirect indicator. Okay. The James Webb can also look for other compounds. All right. And those other compounds, this is weird seeing me talking. That's our SkyTour radio show. That's Tara Diulis.
Okay.
Yep. She's also in the nonprofit company with us, along with Marianne Robb. But the compounds that the James Webb is looking for are compounds that only life can make. And among those are dimethyl sulfide. That sounds like an odd chemical, right? I mentioned it earlier. But that's a compound that if you drive by any harbor where the tide is out, you smell that stink. That's dimethyl sulfide. You're smelling dimethyl sulfide. And so that dimethyl sulfide is something on our planet that's only made by life. That's it. Only life makes it. So you know what it means? It means that if we find it around another planet, holy cow, did we just find life? And the James Webb just found dimethyl sulfide. So it's possible.
Oh, when was this?
This was actually a finding just a few months back, 2 or 3 months ago.
Wow.
And so it has to be confirmed. But once it's confirmed, we're gonna have some indicators that maybe James Webb has found life. It doesn't mean life like us.
Right, but I mean, this would be like the biggest discovery, and who knows who's showing up here and all that. But I mean, this would be a major announcement, I would imagine, if they can confirm that, because it just has to be life, right?
Providing, of course, they make the announcement.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, they announced the dimethyl sulfide, so I suspect that they're probably going to, be willing to talk about it. I don't think there's anything to gain by saying we found life and we're not going to tell anyone about it. Because think about it. I do a lecture about this too. movies like Close Encounters of the Third Kind, Alien, Prometheus, Independence Day, okay, Earth versus Flying Saucers, The Day the Earth Stood Still. I mean, all these science fiction movies that have come and gone are movies that all send different messages. Okay, Day the Earth Stood Still. You humans better be careful if you're gonna, be careful with your nuclear weapons. Alien, we're aliens. We're gonna come eat your brains. Okay, Independence Day. We just want to kill, right? So that's how that turned out. Okay, Close Encounters of the Third Kind. We just wanted to experiment, but we're bringing everybody back. E.T., E.T., hey, and he comes back and Lost Alien. How cute, a little lost alien. Ride him in a bicycle. Okay, gets along great with the kiddies. Okay, so and Prometheus. Okay, a movie about 10-foot tall aliens that actually were engineers, as they were called, that made life on the Earth, and we were a failed experiment, so they were going to wipe us out. But the humans wanted no part of that. Okay, so all these movies send these different messages about alien life to us. So which one is which? In my opinion, I really think that if there's an alien civilization that got through their nuclear phase, they're all going to learn about fission, because that's a universal characteristic. Okay, splitting atoms delivers energy, and so they will all have done that. And fission will lead to fusion. We're using it in a one-off process with our nuclear weapons. We have fission bombs that actually have a fusion component, and that's what delivers the yield. Okay, and Lawrence Livermore is working on a fusion reactor right now. All right, so a fusion reactor is a reactor like the sun, but you can see then why aliens might be interested in our nuclear reactors, because they might be hovering around them because they want to see just where we are with our technology. They're not all knowing, and they're also not infallible. They can be killed, they can be hurt, they do crash. If you took an F-16 back to ancient Babylon and flew it around and then it crashed, oh my gosh, the gods bleed. You'd be viewed as a god until you crashed your plane. All right, so it's just a matter of a sliding window of technology. We see this flying around and we think, oh, they can't crash. Well, of course they can. Why wouldn't they? And they do. And so, so they undergo risks like we do in space travel, but certainly they're using different technology and their risks are at a different level. Okay. So, when you look at our planet, and you look at it as a brilliant blue beacon in the cosmos that is attractive to all creatures made of carbon that are looking for life, because the oxygen in our atmosphere wouldn't stay there. It would dive into the elements and compounds in the crust of the planet and bond, because that's what oxygen loves to do. It loves to oxidize, which means it's going to bond. When it does that to iron, it makes Fe2O3, 2 irons and 3 oxygens. It makes rust. Okay, that's why Mars is red. It rusted, right? So when we talk about this process, it just means to me that alien life and our governments looking for alien life is something that they're probably not going to be too interested in hiding, unless it has to do with gaining their secrets. And I think that might be what Don is alluding to earlier about them, the government. Would want to keep the secrets for themselves. Well, the Russians would too, the Chinese would too, and even the Australians would do that. Right? Yeah, that's right. That's how it is. Yeah. So certainly, I think that's what we have to look forward to. But in general, I think that these alien beings that are here, and I do believe they are going to be more scientists. They're past the nuclear phase. They're past the warring phase, because leaving a planet and traveling extraterrestrially interstellar is something that is going to require a planet's total commitment to do.
Well, the same thing could be said for middle age Europeans when they went out exploring in their sail ships. The Spanish, prime example, came over, discovered Central and South America. What's the first thing they did? They went in to subjugate the natives. Why? Well, for a lot of reasons. Everything from women to gold, primarily gold.
Gold. That's what they always were looking for. Yeah.
They were always warlike. So I don't think, Mark, honestly, that you can extrapolate that these extraterrestrials are going to be a hell of a lot different than the way we are psychologically.
We have no
Don't
way to
you
know.
for a second think that they don't have a militaristic edge to them.
But, if they get through the bubble without blowing everyone up, maybe their society, whatever they are, has developed in a way where that is not part of their, part of what they do. Let's hope that. But I think we're about ready to go into a break here in less than a minute. And when we come back, I'd like to pose this question to you, Mark. Are you seeing it down here?
Yeah.
Solar Warden, I don't know what that is, but I think we're about ready to go into break. So, Bill, if you'll take us into the break, here we go. And we're back. And we have Don Ecker, Chris Deperno, and special guest Marc D'Antonio, myself, Martin Willis. And I'd like to I think we should address this question. What do you have to say to that question that I had posted up there, Mark?
About Solar Warden?
Yes.
Yeah, Solar Warden, that came on the scene in the 2000s or so. And it has to do with a secretive space initiative to protect the Earth and explore weaponry that could destroy UFOs. And it got legs because people, of course, were interested in that kind of thing. But as far as it being a real program, I've seen no evidence of it in everything I've done. And I'm actually pretty open about the things I've done. I mean, I'm no longer in the know, so to speak, with the special projects side of things. I still do work for the Navy, but I do publicly known projects. I don't do anything other than that now. It's just too invasive.
Well, you are open, Mark. That's one of your charms, and maybe that's possibly why you see no evidence of it. You're too open.
I don't know.
They are on to you, Mark.
I need to explain that.
You got some
explain that. Explain to me,
it.
Decker. Explain to me, Decker. What do you mean? So, I understand. So I understand the theory. I just haven't seen any evidence of it. To be fair.
What about Gary McKenna, Mark?
There's what about Phil Schneider? I mean, I know that there's cases out there that seem interesting. Phil Schneider had me going for quite a while. I actually thought that he might have really encountered something, but then I started seeing all kinds of other contrary things about Phil Schneider. And by the way, if you see Phil Schneider on social media, the man's dead. He's been dead for quite a long time. So it's not him.
Yeah. And our friend Dean Alioto is going to be revealing in a documentary coming up more about Phil Schneider. Everyone should keep their eyes open for that.
Yeah. I did a project with Dean. He was a great guy. He worked with us with Doug Trumbull at the studio.
Yeah, Dean's a wonderful guy. Really funny too. Hey, Mark, I want to address this situation because I think it might have been Neil deGrasse Tyson, but I'm not sure. It was someone like him said, if UFOs are so prominent, then why don't any astronomers see UFOs? And au contraire.
Au contraire, indeed, from what you told me, yeah.
Yeah. So, but I mean, what do you say to that? I mean, a lot of astronomers are looking through a telescope, and for you to see something through a telescope, that would be rather rare. I mean, I saw a meteor through a telescope, and it almost blinded me.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty a rare event. To be fair, most astronomers don't look through telescopes. In fact, most astronomers are just looking at data. And they're just looking at the data acquired by the Hubble, by the James Webb Space Telescope, by the stuff at Kitt Peak, by the Solar Telescope SOHO, by the Chandra X-ray Telescope, by many of the other, airborne or spaceborne and ground telescopes, the Keck telescopes on Mauna Kea, and just to go on and on, Mount Hades telescopes, the Canaries. I mean, we got all kinds of information. And yes, the telescopes are open all the time looking at the sky. at a very, very narrow spot in the sky, and then they get their data, and that is like several years of research that goes on after that, where no one's looking at the sky for that particular thing anymore. So it's actually kind of rare that astronomers look through telescopes, frankly. I think we've probably looked through telescopes with our SkyTour LiveStream more than many astronomers have that are professional astronomers. If you go to amateur astronomers, well, we got people all over the world doing it every single night, looking through the telescopes. We've probably got, I dare say, maybe 500,000 people or more around the world that are looking to the sky with their telescopes on clear nights, but they're not actually able to do anything more than look. In many cases, they don't record the data. Many do, some don't, most don't. So they just look. Oh, look at that cool thing I saw, and they're only seeing a portion of what's really there, and trying to show more of what's there is the thing that has always been on my mind. I've looked through telescopes ever since I was 9, and everybody here knows that I wanted to be an astronomer since I was 9, right? So I looked to the day when I might have a telescope I could run from inside the warmth of my house. When I was a kid, I ran wires to a telescope through a window, kind of partially shut the window on the wires, and had the telescope out in the yard. And I thought it was so cool because I could run my telescope from in the house. Okay. Yeah, but I still had to go out there to take pictures because I was using a film camera. Also, I had to go back, click, got to run back in. So,
Mark, what's your opinion of SETI?
Oh, yeah, the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence. I sat with Seth Shostak on a panel at one point a couple of years ago, actually. No, last year. I think it was at maybe Contact in the Desert or Alien Con. It was at Alien Con. And, Seth is an individual. He's not very open to extraterrestrial intelligence being here. He's open to extraterrestrial intelligence being there somewhere, but not here. I'm kind of on the opposite side. I see too much evidence, as all of you have.
Well, he's not willing to look, Mark.
I think that's
He's
true.
not willing to examine any data. I know Shostak. I debated him up in the Bay Area a few years ago. And the guy has a very closed mind.
He does. He's not very open to extraterrestrial intelligence having made it here. Yeah.
Surprisingly, he's 81 years old. He looks good for his age, and he's still pretty active. But I've had Seth on my show a couple of times, and we got into a debate. He was ready for every single thing that I could throw at him. He was all ready for it. But
he's been hearing it for years.
I want to just tell you, gentlemen, I think it was a great story. I think I said that comment one day on my show, and a listener contacted me from the UK. His name was Andy Fleming, and he was a amateur astronomer, and he did a radio show in the UK every week on astronomy. And he says, I'm contacting you because I am an amateur astronomer, but I was carrying my telescope going home from a hill. He lived near some hill somewhere that he used to bring his telescope up. And he said, all of a sudden, this big, huge triangle floated right over me with 3 lights. And so he says, so I got to tell you, I'm more or less an astronomer. It's my whole life. And this thing floated right over me.
Yeah, so. I know that's out there, and there's people that see these things. I mean, I've had experiences that I can't explain. I had missing time when I was a kid, and shortly thereafter, that's when I felt and learned that I was only going to be an astronomer. I just knew that's where I had to go because I knew there was something out there. I felt like I was being watched from the sky all the time after that. And I didn't know why. I didn't equate the missing time with aliens or anything like that. I almost don't still now, but still. So, and I've had more experiences in that, stupid thing shoved up my sinus. We talked about that a number of times. Yeah. But honestly, I think
that mysteriously disappeared. You forgot that part.
What's that?
And it mysteriously disappeared.
That's right. 1 week after it was taken out, it disappeared from the hospital's pathology lab. I mean, can you imagine the chain of custody that has to get buried for something like that to happen, that's really not a good thing. Insurance companies really frown on losing samples. Okay. But somehow that got all washed away. Yeah. So you're right, Don. They say
I had my detective hat on. Mark.
You are the premier detective I go to when there's crap like this happening out there. Yeah. So I'm with you on that. And I think it's really important to understand that even though I've had these experiences and I'm an astronomer, I'm not alone. And Martin just put up the list. Look at that. Can you zoom on that?
Yeah. What I can do, yes, I can. What I can do also here is just tell you that I was trying to find. I saw this out there, but everything was behind a paywall, and so then I saw on Reddit someone wrote that they had this copy, and so if I wanted to access it, I'd have to ask for permissions, Google permissions. I never thought I'd see it before the show, but luckily this person was kind enough to give me the permission because I said I was going to be sharing it on a show about UFOs. And here we go. So this, I think it was put together in 1973, and it's a really interesting thing. I'll have this on my podcast UFO website if anyone wants to check it out. And it's that'll be under UFO sightings. I have an anonymous page there, but that's where I can't think of where else to put it. That's where I'll put it. But look at this. These start going back to November 17th, 1623, and then 1676. This is fascinating. And so these are supposedly people, that were considered astronomers over the years, and all these sightings, year after year, all through the 1700s. And so it's several pages long. And again, that will be linked. That will be on the website. I can't think of where else I can say that this would be, so it will be on my website, podcastufo.com, and look under UFO sightings, and that's where it'll live. But it's many pages, and check it out. We're into 1850s now. So when people,
it's crazy.
Yeah, I know. And this is a really good argument for the people that say, oh yeah, it's all our technology. That's everything. That's what everyone is seeing.
Not when Edmund Halley saw it.
Yeah, not in. Yeah, we didn't have any of these technologies, and some of them, as you read through them, some of them will be written in a way of someone not being able to understand what they're looking at. And a lot of times people will. It's kind of like whatever pop culture is at the time. These were sailing ships, or these were this or that. Just because they can't really understand what they're seeing. Here's certainly not a comet here. A large luminous body was seen in the state and all that. So yeah, that's really something. Really something to go through and read. Very, very interesting.
I think that's so cool. And honestly, these people, many people are out there who just don't understand what's going on, and they ask the questions, what is this? What's going on out there? And it's like, I totally with you. I get it. I want to show it too, I caught something the other night on our all sky camera, which I want to show if I can. I'll
yeah. Do you know how to do a screen share?
Yeah,
right?
I'm gonna set it up here.
Okay, let me just remove this, and you go ahead and pop that in.
Yeah, I'm gonna share.
Let me get rid of mine here.
Yeah, don't worry about it. I'm just gonna.
There we go. Okay.
Let me see.
So tell us the details about how you caught this and all that.
Well, the thing was, it was actually pretty simple. I'll tell you what it was. Okay. Now, here it is. Okay. This is the object I captured. Right. So you can pull it up.
Yeah.
Now,
wow.
Now, it looks
impressive.
Great. Oh yeah, it sure does. That's a 20-second exposure. If you look in the upper left here, you see a 20-second exposure. But you have to understand something. This thing started as a streak before it here and went all the way across to the other horizon, that bright. Okay. But they might say, oh, well, that's a satellite. Okay. And it's glinting at you at some point. All right, that's fair. However, look at the time. Okay, the time is 0 hours 38 minutes. In other words, 12:30 midnight. Okay, so it's 30 minutes after midnight. The sun is on the opposite side. In fact, it's directly behind you.
It can't get a reflection from the sun.
That's right. Not only that, it can't be shown at all. You don't see satellites that are moving this fast, okay, this low in orbit, okay, after midnight. You see farther ones that are far away, like you can see geostationary satellites, little tiny trails out here, out there, okay? But this, okay, here's the Big Dipper. So here's the bowl, the Big Dipper here, and here's the tail, and that's Arcturus, the star in Booties, and there this is heading toward it. It's coming from here, it flares, and then it goes all the way down here, just as bright as this right here, 100 times brighter than the brightest star in the sky, which is Sirius, okay, in the northern sky. So what was this? So I did some research and I found out that this object could have been a Chinese rocket re-entering the atmosphere, and it re-entered over us.
Whoa.
Okay,
yeah.
And this flare could be an area where the rocket started to disintegrate and fall apart into smaller pieces. So some of those parts fell between here and there, maybe out in Utah or Nevada or something like that. I mean, they could have, we could have had rocket parts raining down on us from space from the Chinese, right?
Now, so Mark, how did you find that out? How did you do your homework on that?
Well, because I actually looked up launches and tried to find out where find trajectories of certain spacecraft, and I found this Shenzhou rocket. Okay, and this one was going to be re-entering the atmosphere, and it re-entered the atmosphere supposedly the night before this was taken. All right, but the data on it I didn't see for 2 days after this event was taken. So I think they got the date wrong, because this was 12:30, right? So at this point, the date was going to be April 4th, but they said it was April 3rd, and April 3rd was just 38 minutes before this over here. So I think they kind of got it all mixed up, because journalists have trouble sometimes with knowing what day it is after midnight.
Well, yeah. And Charles Hull did it too,
Are you convinced that's what it was, Mark?
I only suspect that because that's the nearest possible thing it could be. It's certainly not a satellite. It literally went horizon to horizon this bright. I really wished I could have seen it, directly. I would love to have seen that directly, because I've never seen a re-entering rocket body. And why was this, if that's what it was, and why was this glowing like this? Why did that happen? This is light coming from it. Okay, it's generating.
Could it be burning up?
Yes, that's what the re-entering part is. It could be that we're looking at the plasma trail of this re-entering object, if that's what it was, because it'd be going, well over 17,000 miles an hour and hitting our atmosphere, which to it is like a solid wall after a certain altitude. So isn't that cool?
That is pretty awesome.
So, that's a pretty cool thing. So I felt that was really neat. There's that's not the only thing I ever saw. I mean, we actually caught something with our older camera that we had out there. And I'll show you this too. This was just give you an idea of the fun we have out there. This was also caught on our let's see if this is gonna be the right one here. I don't know if this is gonna be the same one or the old one.
Now, while you're looking for this, have you heard, in conversation with other astronomers, of anything really phenomenal that they've spotted live like that?
No, actually I haven't. And that's that's the kind of thing which I wish I could, get some detail on. I don't have any idea what other astronomers have captured. I know what we've captured, and we've captured astronomical events, right? We caught the meteor hitting the moon.
That's amazing.
Think about that. At the
Yeah.
height of a lunar eclipse where the moon is blood red, you see this white flash, pow. And we were one of 5 people on the planet that caught it. Well, 5 groups.
Is that right?
Yeah. Nobody else got it.
That's amazing.
We found it. I don't know.
Now, are you able to grab that image?
Oh, it's a stream. You can go watch it happen live.
Oh, okay.
Because we actually made it. It was a live stream at the time.
Yeah.
So it was really
cool.
So,
Martin, I have a question for you and Mark. I'm very impressed with the list that you put up of all these astronomers and even modern day astronomers that, have looked at things in the sky, have not been able to explain some of the stuff up there. But then you have a person like Fitzpatrick who comes out in Arrow and says that he's never seen anything that makes him believe that there's any extraterrestrials. And I don't see the scientific community pushing back on him. I mean, yes, some whistleblowers, some news people have, but not the scientific community that actually look at the sky. And I'm just curious, why aren't they pushing back on this guy who comes out with such a crazy statement?
I can give you
hard evidence.
The short answer. They're cowards.
Go for it, man.
They're afraid. They're afraid to be singled out as being a UFO nut.
There you go. Now, it helps that the government has rebranded UFOs as UAP, because that means they're in charge of the narrative for what a UAP is. Okay, and so that's why the term UFO has sort of vanished into the woodwork now, and it's all UAP, but they are the same exact thing. Okay, and I know they say unidentified anomalous phenomena, but there's still an unidentified flying object. And that's what they mean. It's just different terminology that doesn't connote tinfoil hat or inflatable plastic green alien that you put up there in your newscast. Okay. That's why UAP came around. And since then, you notice that no one has been coming out with UAP jokes and UAP editorials with green aliens. And they haven't done it because this is the government that came out with this, right? With the task force.
But they haven't been challenging it, though.
Well, the challenge will come. I think that, when Kirkpatrick is saying these things, the scientific community, by and large, the ones that matter the most are beholding to the people that pay them. And those endowments come from people that might be very conservative. There's universities involved. And you can't say anything as a scientist at a university without getting it cleared by your department head and then the university in general. So when you go to say something, if you write an article that has something controversial in it, then you're going to have to end up getting that cleared with your department head. And your department head is in the pocket of the people paying him and in the pockets of the endowment sources. So he is going to have to basically take it to committee. And they're probably going to say overall, it's best if you don't say that. So I think that's part of it. And that goes to what Don's saying. They're afraid. I wouldn't say so much they're cowards. I would say that they don't want to lose their jobs. They don't want to lose their tenure as professors. And it takes people like us who don't have to worry about that, okay, to stick our necks out like all of you do and say this because, look, we know this is happening. We know what's going on out there, and I just want to continue spreading the word.
Right.
What do you think of Fitzpatrick's statement, Mark?
Fitzpatrick was towing a line that I haven't figured out yet. Okay. I think he's trying to hedge his bets. Okay. And I would love to hear a conversation between Graves, Grush, and Fravor and him. I'd like to see the 4 of them have a conversation about this. And let's see what Kirkpatrick has to say about everything they have to say. Right? In terms of, the realities that they didn't talk about in the congressional hearing. Because they, when Grush said, I can't talk about this in an open hearing, but in a private one, I'll tell you, about the alien bodies and all that stuff. That led you to believe that the fact that there were alien bodies was a hush-hush secretive thing. That's not the secret. That's not it. I'm convinced. The secret is in how they obtain the bodies. And if you're going to talk about the bodies, you're going to talk about how they were obtained. What weapons, what process was used to down a UFO and bring it down so that you ended up being able to get at the bodies.
So you don't believe that all our retrievals are crashes then?
I think that the retrievals could be from crashes and from us bringing them down. I do. And
only us. Only us.
What do you mean only us?
Well, if there's one group coming here, then over the years that I've been involved, going back to the late 80s, I've heard there are numerous more groups that have come by. Some perhaps on a visit, maybe someone with an agenda in the local area of space, etc. And who says they all get along with each other?
That's a good point, and I defer to your wisdom, Mr. Silverback of ufology, because you are correct. Who's to say that another group might not be at odds with one particular group? I happen to think, however, that if you are capable of plying this gulf between the stars with your craft using high technology, you're probably not here to steal resources from our planet. You're not here to eat our brains. You're not here for our water. Okay, there's more water than the Earth could ever have on it, just out in our Kuiper Belt. They could get all the water they want without ever coming here. Okay, water is a very, very plentiful compound in the solar system. It's a molecule that's everywhere we look. So that's not it. Okay. So
what about gold, Mark?
Well, gold is everywhere in the universe. In fact, that's
probably only important to us because of the rarity.
That's right. And remember where gold comes from. It comes from merging neutron stars. That's the only place that provides the pressures and temperatures and environment necessary to actually forge a gold atom.
Well, let me throw one more thought in here.
Yeah.
And this is perhaps even more terrifying to some, but over the years, many years, there have been many accounts, witness accounts, claiming that they've had encounters with the occupants on some of these craft. And the occupants appear practically as human as you and I. Now, over the years, I've thought about that extensively. What if we are, so to speak, a farm here? And that those human-appearing extraterrestrials may be our distant cousins. We may have been seeded here to an extent.
That's another theory I've heard, and I couldn't say it's not happening. I couldn't say it didn't happen. And the reason is because, and you guys know this, I fought the arrogance of science for decades. Okay. I've seen it everywhere. The director of my observatory, I told him I felt the universe was populated. It's a populated universe. That became the title of my book. And I said, I believe it's a populated universe. And I gave him the arguments, bilateral symmetry, carbon-based, carbon fourth most abundant, blah, blah, blah. All the right buttons you push to show why life makes sense in the universe. And he looked at me and he just said, get back in the observatory and work on your project. Leave Captain Kirk to us. Right? Remember that? So obviously there is an arrogance within science that doesn't allow people to think of possibilities like Don suggests just now. And we have to be open to all those possibilities. We also have to be open to the possibility that even if we think, as I do, that all the aliens coming here probably are now more peaceful than not. We have to also remember that aliens coming here have also, through stories and interactions from what we hear in history, have had a weapon of some sort with them. So why would they have weapons at all? I don't think that's even necessary. If they're here, maybe to defend themselves. Well, defend themselves against what? Well, against us, because we, like elk in a herd. Elk in a herd are nowhere near as smart as us, but just one can kill you, right? You can't walk up to him and say, "Excuse me, come here. I want to put this radio collar around your neck." You're going to get, you're going to get the rack right into your chest, and you're going to get stomped to death. So obviously, they have to have some way of subduing us in order to do whatever they do with humans, to study us or whatever they do. And so they have to have weapons, so to speak, whether they're neural paralyzing weapons or whatever, ways to make us see things that aren't there. We have been investigating that now, because our brains are actually very interesting organs. And I think that there's a lot of interest, both in the medical community and beyond, to figuring out how the brain works to the extent where we would like to eventually put memories into our brains. Star Trek had an episode called Spock's Brain, and there was this thing called the Teacher that Dr. McCoy would wear, and the helmet would impart all this vast knowledge into his brain, and then he could operate on Spock's brain like nothing. Well, that looks like science fiction, but it's actually something that we are working on. We are trying to do that. In fact, I saw it the other day. Implant put into the brain to allow people that are paralyzed to actually use just their eyes to navigate and surf the internet and do their emails. And they're paralyzed. They can't move.
Saw something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's
Elon Musk put the first implant, I believe, right? He's already
I think he had
done
something
that.
to do with it. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a stent thing that opens up, and it goes in through a catheterization through veins, okay, and opens up inside the vein, doesn't interfere with the vein or the artery, and it then proceeds to relay signals. That's the first step. The next step is in us being able to have implants in our heads that allow us to do like surfing the internet, making phone calls, doing all the things we do with our phones. That's going to be up here eventually. It's going to be in the back of our head, maybe in the occipital lobe where, not too much might be going on, and they can just stick an implant in there, and people will have subcutaneous touch points on their bodies that allow them to connect with certain parts of their phone and just say what they want or even think what they want. I mean, I know that seems like science fiction, right? But I write about this in the book. I mean, this is stuff that's coming. Replicators.
This will happen. I do believe this type of stuff will happen.
Yeah, replicators are coming, like in Star Trek. That's coming. What's this bottle made of? Well, it's a carbon-based bottle that's made of plastics. Okay, we can identify the molecules that make it up, and we can actually just assemble the right molecules in the right configuration to make bottles, to make phones, to make UFO models that are really cool.
Hey, speaking of those little models, where do you get those? Marc D'Antonio makes those.
Yeah, we make these. These are our History Makers series in ufology.
Hold that up to the camera. I'm doing a plug for you. Let's do a plug.
Oh, that's okay. We make currently we make the Belgian triangle, the Heflin saucer, and the S4 UFO, which is this guy right here.
That's the S4. Are you talking about the Bob Lazar one?
Oh yeah, this is the one that I use this one a lot because this is the quintessential flying saucer, and the methodology that I think they use to travel is by traveling not in our 4 dimensions of X, Y, Z moving through time, but by slipping into the 5th dimension and traveling dimensionally. And to do that, they need to generate particles that are called Kaluza-Klein gravitons. And those gravitons would surround the ship and pull them into the 5th dimension. Now, to do that, you require a particle accelerator, which is why ships are round. Because there's an outer ring, a particle accelerator, accelerating the particles, generating the particles. The occupants are safe in the center, shielded from synchrotron radiation that you get from particles moving in a curve. They generate radiation out in all directions, but the center can be shielded. And that's why, for instance, people get burned when they say they got burned, radiation burns when they get too near a UFO. That's a synchrotron radiation burns they're getting. All right. And so these things can literally go from here to here without traveling the distance between, because they punch out of the 4 dimensions, go to the 5th, and reappear exactly here. And so they make these discrete jumps.
You know that I was going to do this, right?
Yes, yeah. I know. That's correct. That's correct.
I can't not do it.
Weren't those the 4 gravitons? Yeah. So the bottom line is that, that kind of motion, it's like discrete pops. And that's why they're not affected by the air. That's why they're not affected by the water, because they're neither here nor there for a very long period of time. And the reason is because they're oscillating back and forth between this 5th and 4th dimension. They're doing this all the time, and that constant frequency that they're using, that they're doing that with, is what keeps them safe from the pressure of the water or sonic booms in the air when they're doing discrete pops to the next position. And to them in the UFO, they don't feel anything. They feel like we all feel right here. They shift into the 5th, shift back to the 4 dimensions. And only if they shift into like in front of a semi truck would they get hit. But they're good cartographers. They know all the entry points. That's what makes them so special.
Mark, this would be a good argument for a topic that comes up when someone tries to really think about, space travel. And let's say they are coming from 4 light years away, and they're coming here, or 500 light years away. They would have to go at such a speed that if they hit a small particle that was free floating in space, unless their spacecraft was made of something really, really strong, it would be a problem. And I guess that would skirt around your idea, would skirt around the idea of them running in, colliding with debris.
I have to be fair. It's not my idea. This idea came from Bob Schroeder, a good friend of mine.
Yeah.
Okay, Solving the UFO Enigma. You probably have the book. I have the book. Okay, I have 2 copies of the book. And I know Bob personally. I've talked to him a lot about this. In fact, just a week or 2 ago, I was talking to him. And this process would eliminate, like the Alcubierre drive, which came out in 1994. Okay, Miguel Alcubierre came up with this, the warp drive, as it's been called. And that would bend space, but you are traveling the distance through it. So, but you're moving at an extremely fast rate of speed, so to speak, but you're not quite in the space that we occupy, the 4 dimensions. So you are traveling a little bit out of it, but you're warping so that you bend space so that you bring it closer to you. And then when you unbend it, you're there, but you travel the distance between. You get a lot of high energy particles building up on your windshield in that scenario, like bugs on a windshield. And when you stop, they all come off. And in the terms that we're talking about with a space traveling ship, that's energy that's building up on the ship. And when you stop, it just goes off in such an extremely violent way that you'd go to Proxima Centauri and see a whole burgeoning civilization, ships everywhere. Oh my gosh, look at all these robotic ships everywhere. And look at this inhabitants. As you come to a stop, boom, they all get wiped out. And you got to look at each other and say, yeah, let's tell them we didn't see anything. Yeah, we didn't see a thing. We'll go home, So
yes. Yeah. Speaking of that, another thing about hyperspace drive, in any way you want to put it, is the stopping. I mean, if they're going at such a high speed to go into one location, they have to put the brakes on way in advance. I mean, they're going at such a high speed.
Well,
that's just what?
Yeah, sorry, you're thinking in the 4 dimensions.
I know I am. That's what I'm talking about. That's why I'm arguing in your side that maybe your side makes more sense, and because of that as well.
Yeah, but Martin, why couldn't travel be done by interdimensional?
That's.
I mean,
definitely
that seemed to be the word flavor of the month when a congresswoman came out and said Grush, when they got their private briefing, said he never mentioned the word spaceship or aliens or anything. He alluded to dimensionals or interdimensional.
Yeah,
and so there's a big theory now about interdimensional travel as opposed to bending space and time. What's your
right.
thought on that, Mark?
Well, that's exactly what I'm talking about, Chris. Four-dimensional travel, this fifth dimension, is interdimensional travel. And it depends on the existence of string theory, okay? And in fact, it depends on one variant of string theory called Randall-Sundrum 1, RS1. And in that theory, we have this fifth dimension, and we can shift to the four dimensions by metering the amount of Kaluza-Klein gravitons that we surround our ship with, because they live here. They don't live here. So if you make them in your accelerator in the four dimensions and surround your ship with them, you're getting tugged into the fifth dimension. Make a lot of them, and you go into the fifth dimension very, very, very far. That means the fifth dimension is highly warped, by the way, and the farther in you go, the smaller the universe is around you. So it means that you can pop in and out very, very shallowly into the fifth dimension and go, an inch or two from where you just were, just by oscillating back and forth, and just go, like a few feet ahead or whatever. Or you can go light years, depending on how far in you go. And by the way, to create those particles in this saucer, which has an outer ring, which I believe is a particle accelerator, you need to make a particle accelerator that's the size of your saucer. And that's the kind of thing that Lawrence Livermore is working on with fusion right now. This leads to amazing things. Now, over at CERN, the Large Hadron Collider, which everybody is always thinking about, the LHC, what are they doing now? Well, the LHC has a detector that's on it called the Atlas detector. It's one of the detectors to detect certain particles that are made in these processes of accelerating protons at very, very high speed and seeing what comes out from the collisions. One of the things they're looking for is a very interesting particle called the Kaluza-Klein graviton. They're looking for them. This isn't science fiction anymore, folks. This is now potentially future science with potential interstellar travel at our doorstep, and we don't even really see it yet. Isn't that incredible? And this is CERN.
Is there talk about a teleportation, that we've actually took molecules and teleport them, or is that just garbage?
No, that's actually, I think, a confusion with something called quantum entanglement, Chris. Here's how that works. Okay. And I think that the human brain can be entangled too. Okay. And I'll tell you how that works. I sort of show that at the larger lectures when I talk, because I get the audience to participate and they all find out that, hey, it's true. Well, okay. At the quantum level, consider the lowly electron. It's a fundamental particle. Hydrogen has a proton, it has one electron, and the electron's in this orbital cloud around the proton, right? We know the hydrogen atom. So that electron has a characteristic called spin. It can be spin up or spin down, okay? So now let's suppose we have a block of material. We separate it out, and we take the one half, we move it 5 miles away into a laboratory, and we check its electrons, and we see that its electrons are all spin up, okay? We know, without even measuring the other electrons in the other laboratory, that those electrons are all spin down. We don't even have to measure them. But if we do, we find out they're spin down. Now, here's the thing. And that's what Einstein called spooky action at a distance, in a sense. Because now, let's suppose we take those electrons and we make them go from spin down to spin up. Okay?
The other
ones go the opposite way, and they could be light years apart. That's the spooky action. How is that even possible? That's what quantum entanglement is, in a sense. So it means that if there's quantum entanglement out there, this adds a whole nother realm of understanding that we have yet to really dive into. Okay? If Einstein was calling it spooky action at a distance, it means spooky action because we haven't got a clue as to how it's really operating. There has to be some type of tether connecting distant parts of space to other parts of space. And this goes to the experiment I did. It was at Ozark, actually, a couple years ago, Martin. We had like 750 people in the audience. And I went out there and I said, before I get started, I just want to ask, this is before the cameras were rolling. I said, before I get started, how many of you have thought of a friend you haven't talked to in years? And boom, the phone rings and it's that friend. Every hand went up.
That's right.
Every
I saw
hand.
you. Yeah.
And they all laughed. Ha ha, that's hilarious. I said, science would say that you're just witnessing a coincidence. And they just laughed heartily. And it's like, here's what's really going on. I think, I don't know this for sure. I'm certainly not a neurologist, but neurologists, I think, have a lot to learn. Okay. If we look at the brain, your brain, my brain, the brains of all the people on the planet, save a few of the weird people that do really bad things, okay, or have deformed brains. Our brains are all pretty much the same, okay? You have brains that are different person to person, but in general, the functions are all the same. So it stands to reason that maybe at a, and I made up the word, brainular level, we're connected. And so when you think of that person you haven't talked to, is it the other person who's thinking of you that just got a signal into your head that made you think of them? Or is it you thinking of them that sent the signal to them to say, hey, I haven't talked to so-and-so, let me call them? It's one of those two things.
Well, scientists have actually said, I got an article right here that says that they've been able to teleport information to one atom to another meters away from each other.
That's right.
So, I mean, that's not a theory anymore. That's actually happened.
Yeah, that's a quantum entanglement process where they can actually send information. And I did read that story, actually. I think that story is 2 years old. Is it 2 years?
Hold on one second. I'll pull it back up.
2022, 2021.
It came from... Oh, I had it here. Hold on. It came from the Joint Quantum Institute, and it's 2009. So think what they've done.
Okay.
2009.
Okay. Right. Well, honestly, yeah, their research should have come an awful long way since then. But yeah, the concept of teleport, though, in that has the same problem with saying the moon rang like a bell. Okay, that implied the moon was hollow, and that started a whole hollow moon concept. Oh, yeah. Right?
There's a great song about that.
Is there?
There really is. I'll share it with you sometime. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Cool. Yeah.
Shiny Ribs.
I will have to. Yeah. I'll have to play that when people start talking about a hollow moon. But the point is, the moon rings like it does because it's almost fully solid. Okay. The same composition throughout will produce this ring. The bell is a hollow thing that rings because air is in a standing wave inside the bell, but then exits a giant opening in the bell, which is where you get that sound coming out like it does directed. So that's incredible, and I think that's really cool. I'm going to look up that 2009 teleportation article, Chris, because I want to find that data and make sure that I'm not speaking out of turn here about the quantum entanglement.
I don't think you're speaking out of turn, but it's from the Joint Quantum Institute.
Okay.
And, they're pretty specific. I mean, they're not saying this is a theory. They're actually saying that scientists have successfully teleported information between two separate atoms. But I've also heard the military have what they call behavioral weapons, which also goes back to the theory from crash retrievals. What equipment or what science did we start developing from possibly these UFO crashes? One of the things they started working on, the Livermore lab has, I know the Loomis lab in Hudson Valley was working on this. And so the idea was to affect brain waves, maybe to cause hallucinations or to actually mechanically make you your muscles work in different ways. And they've also made great advances on that too, for, like you said, people who are paralyzed.
Yeah, I found your article, by the way. Thank you. I have to say that we're all talking about science that we don't yet fully understand. It hasn't been fleshed out, so it's all speculation. Other than your article, of course, the article's real. And I know what you're talking about, teleporting information through going through a medium like air or water or electrical cables. Yeah, and it has to do with electron spin. And that is actually the quantum entanglement, probably where they discovered the quantum entanglement. All right, in that particular, that before they actually called it that, I think that's probably what that was. Very interesting stuff, to me. And like I said, we're just infants in the universe, guys, right? I mean, we're just infants. We're still constrained to this shell that with skin and stuff. Eventually we might be energy beings. But I do find it to be interesting. I like the concepts, and I do know that the motion and the movement of unidentified aerial phenomena, okay, is probably done through this process I was mentioning with the 4-dimension, 5th dimension shifting. Okay, that process is the only one that would allow them to be here quickly, and it's something that actually is not really as outrageous as it sounds, right? Because I forget which physicist did a calculation, but he calculated if you go from here, okay, which is in our 4 dimensions, Earth, travel into the 5th dimension and get to Alpha Centauri, it might take you a total time of 20 minutes to actually get there using this process. Now, that's actually considerably slow if you're going to travel millions of light years. You're going 4 light years in 20 minutes. Holy cow. Well, a million light years would be that divided multiple of how many times that is. So obviously that would be a long time.
Well, that would be beyond the galaxy, Mark. That
Yes,
would be to a different galaxy. And
absolutely.
Who the hell wants to go there?
Might be better than here. You never know.
Jennifer, thank you. That's excellent.
Yeah.
That link is fantastic. Thank you.
So we have about 7 or 8 minutes, something like that, just to let everyone know we're getting close to the end of the show.
Yeah.
But so Mark, if you don't mind, what does the future look like? What are some developments that you're working on, possibilities in the future with this? Well, with your observatories and things like that.
Well, here's the thing. We're only ever going to leave this planet through a rigid application of science. Okay? We're not going to get it from, going out and holding hands and singing to the universe. That's not going to get us to leave the planet. Okay? So we have to have science education. We have to bring that back. We have to bring back the ability of people to say, I want to learn biology. I want to learn science and chemistry, organic, inorganic chemistry. I want to learn all kinds of things in science in my school. I want to learn that in my college. I want to go into a career of this, and I want advancement. I want opportunity. So to do all that, my tiny, tiny little contribution is that I'm bringing people into science. And so SkyTour's mission is to show people the universe in ways they've never seen before, but in a way that gets them interested in being part of it. And so our current observatory in the desert is wonderful. The second one we're putting in Benson, we broke ground a couple months ago. And we're going to do a third one out here right out in front here. Again, I had one out in the front yard here for years, and I had an actual dome on my front lawn, and people were like, stopping and taking pictures. What's that thing? Looks like Stewart Dominion, So I actually decorated it as Stewart Dominion for a Halloween one time, and boy, oh boy, that got everywhere. So the telescope dome here I sold because I outgrew it. So I'm going to be putting in a solar observatory here. We're going to be studying the sun from Connecticut and the universe from Arizona, deep in the sky. And then we're also, and this is of course contingent on funding, or grants or whatever. We want to create a mobile observatory, and we want to take it all over the country to big cities and show people the night sky over their heads that they don't realize is really up there. because we can cut through all the light pollution with our telescopes and our filters that we use. And we can show them amazing, miraculous sights up there that might otherwise be invisible for all their lives. So that's what we're going to do. And we also are giving away telescopes and binoculars. Our streams, thanks to one of our guys that works at SpaceX. He's a contributor to SkyTour. He's an official volunteer, actually, and he and his girlfriend are personally, with their own money, buying telescopes and binoculars and giving them to us to give away.
How about that?
I'm right. You know, that's because he's extremely passionate, you know. And thank you for the kudos, by the way, in the chat. You guys are
there's
awesome.
a lot of them tonight. We must have done something right tonight.
I'm glad.
I don't know. Yeah,
No, I'm glad. You guys, you do a good show with UAP Crossfire. It's fantastic.
Well, thank you.
That's why I always make the time when you guys ask me. It's like, oh, of course, I want to do that. And then I got to make sure I can.
Yeah,
You know,
that's right.
Actually, I rushed back here, by the way, because I was, just at like 7:35, I was driving back from 2 towns away. And I'm really glad I didn't get stopped because I would be doing it through a phone call.
Yeah.
Well, you did it good, Mark. Yeah,
I
did it good.
I did. Well, Don, why would I not want to see you guys? You know, you and Chris are fantastic. I wish that Cobra was here, but at least he's here listening.
Yeah, he's not around next week too. And I know, unfortunately, you have something planned, Mark. I do believe next week. If not, we would definitely have you back again, as far as I'm concerned.
I may or may not. I'll check Martin for you. Okay. I go a week at a time, you know.
Yeah.
But you know, sometimes it's busy and sometimes it's nothing. So I'm happy to join you guys again if you'll have me.
And Mark,
always, Mark.
Thanks, Don.
Yeah.
That's really kind.
Let's also do a little plug for your Sky Tours, because you know, I mean, it would be great if you get more and more people that come to that, you know, that will show up there, because these are live. You know, you do these live streams, and all you really have to do is click on subscribe, like you can see that I did, and you can just click the little notification button like that.
Martin, I hate to be roadkill, but I think we're past our due date.
Of time, we have 3 minutes. Oh, are you talking about, what are we talking about?
We leave the show at 54 minutes.
No, it's 57 actually. That's what I've been told before, but it's
Bill
57.
told you? Oh.
Yeah.
I'm going by my show. I'm sorry. Excuse me.
Oh, he drops you 3 minutes early. I think you better discuss that.
Yeah, I think you better have a discussion with him there, Don.
He's got some splaining to do.
Minutes. First break is 56 minutes. Then the end of show is 54. Okay.
Yeah. There's some splaining. But anyway, it's been a real pleasure. And that's Chanel, the producer. Chanel, that's her rules. I love her. She's wonderful. She's a great producer. Chanel at KGRA. And Bill's not too shabby himself. So we are right up against the edge right here. Bill, why don't you take us out? Thank you all, everyone. And we'll see you soon. Don't forget to go over to Sky Tours. And hopefully we'll be seeing you here next week. Good night, everyone. With Marc D'Antonio, myself, Don Ecker, and Chris Deperno. Good night, everyone.
Good night, all.